Donc aujourd'hui, on est réunis ici pour pouvoir parler d'un sujet super pertinent, plusieurs sujets en fait qui sont super pertinents en rapport avec la mode africaine, les cultures africaines, le savoir-faire artisanal, puis les rapports entre les textiles et justement la culture et l'histoire africaine. Puis je suis accompagnée aujourd'hui de Ismaël et Fatou. Je vais vous laisser prendre le temps de vous présenter, comme ça vous allez vraiment pouvoir introduire votre pratique de la manière la plus intentionnelle possible.
D'accord. Thank you so much for having us. It's beautiful to be in this exhibition space of the Africa Fashion exhibition. And my name is Fatou Alhya Diagne, like a true African girl. I'm named after my grandmother. I was born in Senegal, in Dakar, from a Senegalese father and a mother from Niger. But I grew up mostly between New York and Montreal. So I guess my upbringing really influences and is central to my work. I'm the founder of FAD, a creative agency that works at the intersection of fashion, art, and development. And our objective is really to integrate African creativity within the wider cultural discourse. And currently we do so by bridging the gap between African artisans and diasporic designers. So essentially our mission is to find frameworks and design and implement frameworks that allow for African knowledge systems to be included in the creative economy. So in a nutshell, that's me.
Thank you for all these details. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Ismaël.
Alors moi c'est Ismaël Mallé, je suis le fondateur de Kibaru Studios. Kibaru Studios c'est une agence de marketing et un média. Et notre mission c'est vraiment rétablir la balance dans comment les histoires africaines sont divulguées, sont partagées. Et la particularité de Kibaru Studios, c'est que le média est 100% en français. Donc c'est pour redonner l'accès aux cultures africaines, aux communautés francophones qui aujourd'hui, malheureusement, sont souvent mises de côté parce qu'on a des grands magazines du Nigeria, du Ghana, du Kenya, mais la culture africaine doit être disponible pour tout le monde. Donc, c'est ça vraiment la mission de Kibaru Studios. Donc, on pense aux communautés d'Afrique de l'Ouest, du Maghreb, mais aussi dans les Antilles.
Super. C'est super intéressant à entendre parce que vous êtes deux artistes qui sont vraiment intentionnels dans leur travail. Like, you have a story to tell, you have a goal when it comes to what you want to bring for the African community and how you want to create spaces where those cultures are celebrated and honored in the way they should be. Et puis, vous avez récemment... moi, j'ai rencontré Ismaël à travers Fatou. Puis Fatou m'avait mentionné votre collaboration récente sur plusieurs projets, etc. Puis moi, je suis curieuse de savoir comment est-ce que vous êtes rencontrés et qu'est-ce qui vous a poussé à collaborer ensemble dans ce sens.
Alors, on s'est rencontrés il y a maintenant 2 ans ou presque 3 ans.
2-3 ans, ouais, je dirais.
À travers une amie qu'on a en commun. Ça faisait des mois qu'elle nous disait
You have to meet.
Ismaël, un point en commun.
Exact.
Du coup, la première fois qu'on s'est rencontrés, on est allé voir une exposition de Basquiat au musée des Beaux-Arts. Donc, on s'est rencontrés autour d'une exposition. Donc, naturellement, je pense que ça a établi les bases de notre collaboration et de notre amitié. Et juste à travers les conversations, on a commencé à remarquer qu'on a beaucoup de points en commun dans ce qu'on fait. Et notre collaboration a commencé quand j'ai travaillé sur le site web de FAD, donc pour le lancement du nouveau site web. Et en construisant son site web, en lisant le contenu, j'ai réalisé que, her mission really aligns with what I want to do for the Kibaru magazine. So I reached out to her and I offered her to come and be part of that project. Donc là, en ce moment, on travaille sur un fashion dossier qui célèbre la mode, la culture dans le Sahel. Donc, je ne sais pas si tu veux rajouter quelque chose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it was just a natural progression, a friendship, a collaboration, which really allowed us to exchange stories on our upbringings and our passions, and that really infuses our work. And I think for FAD, it was important to partner with Kibaru because a lot of our work is research driven. And in order to be able to execute this storytelling, which I think is so important when it comes to African fashion in the contemporary. It's important to be able to distribute that throughout media channels. So I think that we were, working on that progressively, and we're excited to share it with the world very soon.
Super. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, you've mentioned how it's important for you when it comes to archiving, and I got to see it justement pendant votre exposition il y a 2 semaines within Legacies, which was amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Puis je suis vraiment curieuse de savoir quel est votre processus de recherche et d'archives quand il s'agit de votre pratique artistique, chacun individuellement.
Do you want to go? Okay.
Moi, mon processus de recherche, c'est plus avec un aspect éditorial. Donc, j'ai toujours une idée de comment façonner les histoires pour les rendre esthétiquement pleasing, visually pleasing et attirantes aussi, mais toujours contextualiser ma recherche. Et un point important encore pour Kibaru, c'est rendre accessible cette recherche. Donc, ça, c'est plus dans l'archivage. Donc, ce n'est pas seulement poster les résultats de ces recherches-là en ligne ou dans des livres, etc. Mais c'est aussi le partager dans un langage accessible pour moi, parce que très souvent, les termes peuvent être assez académiques, mais culturellement, je pense que tout le monde devrait avoir accès à cette culture. Donc, pour moi, mon processus, c'est dans cet aspect-là.
Yeah. I think when it comes to African craftsmanship, it's still the making of artifacts is still very traditional and still widely undocumented, we can argue. But documentation alone is not enough to preserve that know-how. So I think storytelling adds to that process. And at FAD, I think merging traditional aesthetics with contemporary designs is a way for storytelling. For example, the jacket that I'm wearing today the textile of it was weaved by a Nigerian weaver in Niamey, and it was designed by FAD and then later produced by a seamstress in Milan and presented for the first time at the Avant-Garde Showcase. So I think that really allows us to showcase the potential, the expertise of African culture and creativity in terms of its craftsmanship, and it offers ways to preserve it within the contemporary age, the digital age, and being able to relate to people through fashion, which is something that unites us all. It's something that we, incorporate in our daily practices. We evaluate our habits through fashion. So it was really important to have that first conversation through this medium.
C'est super intéressant parce que justement, l'exposition Afrique Mode, moi, comment je l'ai reçue, I really, it resonated with me in the sense where it really united people. Dans le sens où, par exemple, pendant le vernissage, les invités qui étaient là, etc., les conversations qu'ils avaient autour de certains textiles, certaines choses qu'ils reconnaissaient justement de leur culture et que ça les a rendus émus parce qu'ils étaient en mode we don't see that here, this is new, this is a first. Puis comme à quel point est-ce que ça honore la tradition, est-ce que ça permet de raisonner justement avec les gens de manière différente, puis des personnes de différents backgrounds aussi. So, je suis vraiment curieuse de savoir, vous de votre côté, comment est-ce que cette exposition a résonné envers vous? What was the connection that you felt with this exhibition?
So I was really thrilled to see it arrive in Montreal. I think it was a very beautiful celebration of African history. It was beautiful to see pioneers from the Sahel like Fatou Alhya Diagne and seeing a lot of the culture that we see back home in, an exhibition context. And I also felt like it validated a lot of the research that I've done. Previously, I did my MA in International Arts Management, and I decided to focus my research on the evolution of West African fashion in terms of the production and the promotion strategies that we use in order to celebrate and to showcase our fashion. So seeing that within the exhibition context was like, okay, there is a conversation happening here. There is a wider discourse that is to have around African fashion, and I'm excited to see what comes next after this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pour moi, juste être en présence de toutes ces pièces-là historiques, c'est un privilège déjà. Mais vraiment, j'ai apprécié cette exposition pour le regard que ça a apporté sur la mode des années 60 jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Souvent, maintenant, la mode africaine a beaucoup de reconnaissance, mais ça n'a pas commencé aujourd'hui. Il y a eu des pionniers avant qui ont posé les bases, les fondations pour que aujourd'hui les designers africains peuvent être plus dans la réclamation et l'affirmation de leur tradition et de leur art, tout simplement. Donc c'est beau de voir que ces artistes, ces designers ne sont pas oubliés, mais aussi, tout à l'heure on parlait de recherche et d'archivage. Tu as mentionné que beaucoup de gens venaient à l'exposition et reconnaissaient des textiles qu'ils ont vus en grandissant, etc. Donc, contextualiser aussi ces connaissances-là, ces histoires peut-être on a entendu parler de ça, mais on ne sait pas vraiment d'où ça vient, on ne sait pas vraiment qui a été le premier à utiliser ça. Donc, cette exposition donne l'opportunité de raconter ces histoires.
Yeah. I think the pioneers of African fashion, like they had dreams, they had initiatives. If we think about, and they still do, if we think about Al-Fadi that launched the female fashion show that takes place in Niger every quarter, I think that it allows for us to have the framework to see what is to be done next. And exhibition like this allows us to, you know, gather and to have dialogues. And I think that we'll talk about it a bit later, but the Woven Legacies exhibition was a similar experience where people, whether they were African or not, were able to experience the installations and the journey of the exhibition and have a conversation that we also had amongst ourselves as four creatives working around the theme. So yeah, hopefully this discourse translates into actionable items for the future.
You've mentioned how like it's important to honor those pioneers, justement les personnes qui étaient là avant la mode moderne et tout. In an industry like fashion where it's like so rapidly changing and so rapidly evolving, as young artists, how do you stay grounded when it comes to reminding yourself to honor those traditions and remember them throughout this, whilst trying to like adapt to this industry and trying to evolve as young artists in this industry?
Moi, je dirais, je m'adapte, mais c'est pas de manière consciente. Je dirais que c'est quelque chose qui est en moi. Par exemple, la mode africaine, en grandissant, on voyait nos mamans, nos tantes, etc. Il y avait certains modèles qui se répétaient. C'était pas une mode qui changeait drastiquement du jour au lendemain. C'était quand même le slow fashion. Il y avait quand même des trends, donc les manières d'attacher les foulards ont changé, mais pendant des années ça restait. Donc moi je vois aussi la mode comme ça au fait. J'ai jamais été un grand fan de la mode trendy, des choses qui changent chaque 6 mois et c'est dur de catch up. Et je sens que la mode africaine, les designs africains ils évoluent, mais ils évoluent en gardant quand même une certaine base et une certaine consistance. Donc pour moi, c'est quelque chose que je vois naturellement, quoi.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with a lot of that. I think that in regards to the industry, the fashion industry as we see it now today is one that needs urgent attention. And I think that African know-how, ancestral know-how, our traditions allow us to see how inherently sustainable our methods are and how it can be positioned as a benchmark for production when it comes to the future of fashion, not only African fashion. And I think that it is to be considered as the next frontier for luxury. And I think our artisans are really central to telling that story. So it's really important to preserve their know-how, protect it. And us as, you know, designers or creatives or just people from the diaspora, we have that opportunity to have that exchange and to allow that culture to continue to prevail. And I think in that way we can borrow from what we see here and what we know from, you know, our home countries and merge them together. And yeah, I think that it's a conscious thing that we, as Ismaël said, that we all do.
And it's luxury in its essence.
Yeah.
Luxury is not trendy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. During like your the exhibition Woven Legacies, you had a section that was dedicated to justement the exchanges with the artisans back home, puis les échanges que vous avez eus quand il s'agit de la conceptualisation de certains designs, et puis le résultat, si ça fonctionnait, les enjeux, etc. Puis moi, j'aimerais savoir quel est votre plus gros challenge quand il s'agit de travailler à distance, justement avec des artisans qui sont back home en Afrique de l'Ouest et puis que vous êtes ici?
I would say the biggest challenge is, I think we've discussed this before, but communication. Communication, I think, is definitely a challenge that, we're all encountering when it comes to staying connected to those artisans. And when I say all, I'm referring to the designers that were featured as well in the exhibition, Batik Boutique and Tamala. And we all had different solutions in regards to countering that challenge. For example, Tamala hired a local coordinator in order for the exchanges between the artisans and herself to be more fluid and to be more direct. It allows to, because a lot of our, the way that we create is oral a lot of times. So I think that solution is a very concrete one, and it facilitates the ability for designs to be, to hold the quality, that we want them to, serve on the market. For example, in my case, when it comes to jewelry, I utilize a lot of 3D modeling. So 3D modeling allows for the artisan to have a maybe clearer perspective on what is wanting to be designed, and also allows us to recreate that same model over and over again. I think it makes me think about when I was, younger, and I would go back to Senegal or to Niger, and I would bring back one of a kind custom designs. I think that our challenge is making that so we can have multiple designs, and we can have many of them, and that everybody can have access if they want to support what we do. So in a nutshell, I think communication is a big challenge, but it allows us to find innovative ways to keep artisans a part of this global conversation, whether it be to technology, human resources. It's still a long way forward, but we're getting there one step at a time.
Moi, je ne travaille pas directement avec les artisans, mais pendant l'exposition, cette section, donc c'était une table. La section dont tu fais référence, c'est la table avec les différents challenges.
Designing between worlds.
Exactement, designing between worlds. Pour moi, cette table, elle était intéressante parce que déjà, elle a mis en conversation Tamala Artisanal, FAD et Batik Boutique. Donc, ces trois designers se sont rendus compte qu'il y a beaucoup de challenges qui sont partagés. Mais même pendant l'exposition, on a reçu la visite d'autres designers qui sont à Montréal, mais qui sont aussi d'origine africaine. Et c'était intéressant de les voir comme, comment dire, relate to the content that was shown. Et voir que, OK, ce processus de designer de la diaspora, ces struggles, on les partage tous. Je ne suis pas seule dans cette aventure-là, notamment par rapport à le transport, qui peut être très coûteux. Souvent, c'est ça aussi qui justifie le prix de certaines pièces, parce que ce n'est pas facile de transporter les biens jusqu'ici, mais aussi de rester éthiquement correct avec les artisans, les payer de manière décente. Donc, toutes ces conversations qui ont eu lieu pendant le vernissage et le finissage qu'on a eu, je trouvais ça vraiment intéressant et enrichissant.
Ok, super. Pour rebondir justement sur le côté échange pendant le vernissage, puis toutes les personnes qui ont été justement attirées dans votre exposition. C'est super intéressant de voir ça parce que en tant que jeune artiste africain, on a souvent du mal avec l'aspect de communauté dans l'Occident. Quand il s'agit du domaine de la mode spécifiquement, on n'a pas vraiment beaucoup d'espace justement comme Woven Legacies où on peut se rassembler, discuter, échanger, connecter ensemble. Puis c'est vraiment bien que vous ayez été capable de créer justement cet espace-là. Donc moi, je voulais savoir aussi comment est-ce que How did you feel quand vous avez vu justement le monde qui est venu, les connexions que ça a créées, puis à quel point les gens résonnaient vraiment avec ce que vous aviez créé à travers cette exposition-là?
It was a really gratifying feeling, I think. We were really overwhelmed with joy to be able to see people have conversations. We also had the Africa Fashion book on display. People were taking the book, they were going to the pictures, seeing the references. So it felt like a sort of continuity that around the conversation of African fashion. It really felt like the first step towards a bigger conversation, towards something bigger. So yeah, that's how I felt. I felt really proud of us as well for what we were able to accomplish. And I think a lot of times, like what we were repeating, the conversations that we were having in regards to the creation element was preserving our know-how. A lot of it is intangible. A lot of it is orally passed down, still undocumented in certain cases. So it really allowed us to make it tangible in that way. All of the installations represented ethical production, sustainability, the heritage behind, what we do. So yeah, I thought that was really the biggest joy of it all. Yeah.
For me, it was a lot of people wanted to know if the exhibition will travel or will be available online, or if they can take something away from that exhibition. And I think that really motivated us to document the exhibition better. That's why we decided to extend it, to document it better and make that possibly in the near future accessible online. So that was very gratifying.
Yeah, I think really seeing as well Batik and Tamala being able to connect with new customers and put their pieces out in the world was also a really satisfying feeling. It shows that consumers are ready to start buying sustainably, buying ethically, and putting Africa at the center of that, African artisans as well, was really the goal of the whole exhibition.
Amazing. It's really good parce que comme parfois on oublie aussi le côté sustainable de la mode africaine.
Yes.
Parce que souvent on n'y pense pas nécessairement, but African fashion is sustainable quand il s'agit des matières naturelles qu'on utilise pour produire, quand il s'agit de comment on utilise des vêtements qu'on ne porte plus. It's always passed down within the family ou à d'autres membres de la communauté. Donc est-ce que c'est comme quelque chose qui compte, enfin pas qui compte, mais comme, is it something that you guys really got to see better justement en travaillant avec différents designers, etc. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose que vous saviez déjà ou est-ce que c'est vraiment en mode, by working more on this and by making more research, I realized that African fashion is slow fashion and is sustainable?
Yeah.
For me, j'étais au courant que c'était une mode sustainable, mais je savais pas que c'était répandu dans tout le continent, parce que je suis très focus sur l'Afrique de l'Ouest, mais là, à l'exposition, on a travaillé avec Tamala qui est à Madagascar, donc voir que les mêmes pratiques, comme tu as dit, pass down the clothes to your little sister, your cousin, once you're done wearing them, les méthodes comment dire, de teinture aussi qu'ils utilisent pour le raffia.
The weaving methods.
Exactement, c'est des teintures naturelles, c'est les mêmes qu'on utilise au Mali pour le bourrelan. Donc c'était intéressant de voir que c'est des pratiques qui sont répandues à travers le continent et que c'est quelque chose, je pense, je sais pas pour toi, mais comme tu as dit, c'est quelque chose auquel on pense pas souvent, c'est juste là. Donc là, le fait qu'on a eu une discussion autour de ça, ça amplifie le message et ça nous fait aussi réaliser la mission du travail qu'on fait. En fait. Donc, surtout que maintenant on sait avec tout ce qui se passe dans le monde que la sustainability c'est quelque chose d'important et se dire que cet art que je mets en avant, cette tradition que je mets en avant, son essence même est éco-responsable. Ça motive les designers à continuer sur la lignée. Je ne veux pas parler pour vous, mais moi je le fais comme ça en tant que producteur de l'expo. Je vais te laisser développer.
I think, when I was discussing with the team, their processes, for example, Tamara mentioned that, the artisan's most vital collaborator is nature. And I think as well the artisan's most vital collaborator is culture. So they safeguard our culture, they safeguard the nature, they create in symbiosis with the nature. So I think African fashion is inherently sustainable because of that, which is our competitive advantage on a global scale. But it's also slow in that way, the way that we weave, the way that things emerge from nature. We have to kind of se synchroniser et patienter afin que les choses viennent vers nous pour qu'on puisse créer. Et c'est vraiment la richesse de nos cultures. Et I think that the reason for that as well is because once that's arrives and it's tangible, we find ways to repurpose it, to reuse it. I'm thinking about the different designs that were throughout the exhibition. For example, I think Batik had these bags that were made out of plastic water bags. Yes, and the potato bags as well. So that was really nice to see how it's a circular model. That is, yes, in conversation right now when it comes to sustainability and circularity, but that's been happening in Africa before we even, all thought about it.
Yeah.
And I think, while curating it, we also wanted to make sure that it was demonstrative that African fashion is inherently sustainable, which is why our central piece was made out of batiks, leftover scraps, showing that it still has purpose and it still can be beautiful design, even if it's, scraps.
Ce qu'on remarque souvent avec certaines pièces, certaines marques, certaines maisons de haute couture dans l'Occident, ou même au niveau global, c'est que when you look back and when you actually do research, you find a lot of African patterns into their garments.
Yes.
The big influence that African fashion has on a global scale quand il s'agit des grosses maisons de couture, quand il s'agit des marques en particulier. Comment est-ce que ça vous impacte en tant qu'artiste, en tant qu'individu, and how, parce que c'est difficile de donner crédit parfois, because it's like tradition against couture, I guess. Puis comme, je me demande non seulement comment est-ce que vous honorez ça dans l'Occident, parce que c'est des choses qu'il faut vocaliser, qu'on essaie de vocaliser, mais qui sont pas faciles à vocaliser. Comment est-ce que ça s'applique dans votre pratique artistique et la manière dont vous voyez justement ces maisons de culture ou bien ces marques-là?
I think, part of the exhibition as well was, designing between worlds. And a specific part of that was the knowledge gap. And I think that when it comes to African fashion, there's a big knowledge gap. We've repeated it before, but it's still, widely undocumented when it comes to the traditional aspects of, the labors of artisans. And so that allowed for big couture houses to take inspiration without credit. So I think that the responsibility of the diasporic designer or creative is to contextualize, is to, frame our research in a way that gives credits to the pioneers, to the artisans, to the symbols that are weaved within our cloth. And I think, for example, I work a lot with the Melfa, and I was doing research, and there's an article about this on my website that is entitled, was Yves Saint Laurent inspired by the Melfa? Because, we see a lot of his hood dresses, which was a staple, and continues to be referenced throughout the most recent collections. And we know that he has such a close relationship with Marrakech. So I think it's an honor to see such a fashion house reference African fashion, but at the same time, it takes away opportunities from our artisans, from our designers, our creatives. So I think it's important to create more pathways for that exchange to happen. And that's really something that we put at the forefront through our mission at FAD. It's being able to connect the diasporic designers and African artisans, but also more established fashion houses who might, need more context in order for things like cultural appropriation not to be an issue moving forward, and for more, equitable redistribution of the consumption of culture. Yeah.
C'est très intéressant ce que tu as dit. Pour moi, c'est plus par rapport à l'accès aussi à l'information, comme tu as dit, there is a knowledge gap, whether we like it or not. The diasporic designer now has to take a position of educator, whether he likes it or not. C'est dur d'avoir cette responsabilité, mais c'est important aussi pour se réapproprier les récits. Par exemple, récemment, je voyais une créatrice de Côte d'Ivoire qui était accusée de voler certains designs de Schiaparelli, mais elle a dû faire une vidéo expliquant que ces designs-là sont utilisés en Afrique depuis très longtemps, sont inspirés des masques africains, et que même Schiaparelli a dû avoir des références africaines quand il faisait certaines de ses collections. Donc c'est important de mettre ce savoir, de mettre cette recherche en avant. C'est frustrant, mais c'est une responsabilité à prendre. Pour moi aussi, c'est le rôle de médias, avoir des médias africains qui racontent nos propres histoires. Je pense aussi notre but avec le dossier fashion qu'on fait, donc raconter l'histoire des pionniers, des textiles, des patterns. Donc c'est important de savoir d'où ça vient. Et aussi pour les designers africains, je pense qu'il ne faut pas avoir peur de se réapproprier certains de ces designs-là. C'est vrai qu'aujourd'hui, beaucoup sont protégés par des copyrights, des choses comme ça, mais il y en a certains que you have to do your research, of course, but you can definitely reuse because it's African.
Exactly. And to add to that, I think as well, like it allows people to feel that they can also, you know, wear African fashion and not cultural appropriate, but appreciate if they have a reference as to where it's from. So I think that's also really important to take into consideration for major fashion houses, and we hope that they start to implement more initiatives to collaborate more fairly with diasporic creatives.
Absolument.
And African creatives.
Je rejoins vraiment beaucoup ton point par rapport à justement l'aspect de as a community and as artists, c'est notre responsabilité justement de devoir faire ces références-là, se souvenir d'où ça vient, puis genre repair that knowledge gap. Puis je pense que ça devient non seulement une responsabilité individuelle en tant qu'artiste, mais une responsabilité collective aussi, because when you're an immigrant, when you're African, when you're a Black person, I think a lot of the things you do are not, like, shouldn't necessarily be only for you, but you should do it for the community.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't do it for each other, who will?
Who will, yeah.
Donc, c'est vraiment intéressant parce que quand tu parlais de ça, justement, j'ai pensé à Avant-Garde, parce que je me souviens pendant la conception de ta collection, you had a lot of people contribute into that collection. Puis il y a vraiment beaucoup de personnes, plusieurs designers, plusieurs artistes qui sont vraiment venus comme te supporter dans la conceptualisation de cette collection-là, puis fabriquer certaines choses, when it comes to textiles, certains designs. Donc c'est vraiment, ça m'a vraiment interpellée, puis je suis curieuse de savoir du coup comment individuellement est-ce que vous sentez le support de votre communauté quand il s'agit de certains projets ou bien just you as an individual.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to, I'll start with, you know, the work that I do, I think it's really important when it comes to filling that knowledge gap, to understanding how to best leverage African materials, because it's materials that, for example, if we talk about the melfa, that is not necessarily transformed a lot, you know, it is more so done recently now that the youth is reclaiming it. In countries like Mali, Mauritania, we're seeing more brands emerge that are reusing the melfa. So I think for me, it allowed me to see what are the challenges and how to counter the challenges by working with experts, for example, like David Ugalu, who we collaborated on with our Fanta dress, and we understood the delicacy and the particularities of the melfa and how to design around that a collection in order to reclaim our culture, in order to showcase where the trends of the hood or other trends come from, for example. So I think that I definitely felt that process. It was a, you know, several months process to arrive at the collection, and it was beautiful to be able to learn from different designers, for them to learn from the crafts as well. And I think that as well at the show, at the Woven Legacies exhibition, we had a few friends come, and they mentioned to us, it's beautiful to see that, you know, you guys are doing what you love. It inspires us as well to do what we love. So we inspire each other, we motivate each other. And I can talk as well for our collaboration. I think that in regards to, you know, seeing our parallel missions, we really do allow each other to move forward and to showcase our work in a way that is to the, you know, results, the standard that we want to see it in the world. So it can be challenging to find the appropriate, you know, teams at times, especially here in Montreal, where it's African fashion is such a niche. But at the same time, once you find your people, it's really beautiful to see things materialize and go forward.
I agree with what you said, and for me, I just want to add a point about don't be afraid to reach out to your community too. I think this applies to every young entrepreneur or artist. Sometimes you feel like you can do it all, but you can't. There are some people that are experts in certain fields. So, and we have, in Montreal, we do have a community of people that are interested in African fashion. We are not a lot, but they're here. So for me, it was really reaching out, looking for those people, learning from them, and seeing people like yourself. Honestly, it's inspiring to see your artistic journey. You know, it's motivating. So yeah, don't be afraid of reaching out. For me, really, that's what fuels me to continue my projects.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree, because I am someone that really, I'm better now. But I really, really had a hard time reaching out to people. Because even on an individual scale, when it comes to like just me as a person, I have such a hard time calling people and be like, hey, I need help with this and this and that. I'm like, I can just do it by myself.
That's what we were taught to do.
C'est ça. And then, quand j'ai commencé vraiment, genre, quand il s'agit du stylisme, j'ai commencé vraiment like, à vouloir apprendre plus de choses, en fait, je me rends compte que j'ai pas... Since I didn't go to school for this, j'ai pas les ressources qu'il me faut, puis j'ai pas les références qu'il me faut, so I was like, what do I do? And then my sister was like, well, I always tell you to reach out to me, but you don't. And I was like, you're right. Puis c'est vraiment ça qui m'a aidé à genre déconstruire le tout, puis commencer à reach out aux gens, collaborer, puis voir les personnes autour de moi faire la même chose aussi, justement, les jeunes créatifs qui sont en mode, OK, I want to do a photo shoot, but I don't know how to photograph, for example. Let me just go reach out to this person, that person. Puis c'est vraiment ça qui m'a permis de me créer en fait une petite communauté au niveau de l'industrie de la mode et de l'industrie créative, et qui m'a vraiment permis aussi de pouvoir exécuter et puis de pouvoir pratiquer certaines choses. Et c'est vraiment intéressant parce que au début, that was my challenge, and then my challenge started being intention. Dans le sens où, quand je venais de commencer en tant que styliste, etc., j'avais l'impression que j'avais besoin de prouver parce que je venais de commencer. And like social media put a lot of pressure into that as well, because every day there's a new photo shoot, every day there's a new this, every day there's a new that. So I was like, okay, I'm slow, I need to go faster. And then one day I sat with my sister and she said something that really like clocked my brain. She was like, Marième, tu cours pour aller où? Genre, t'as raison. And she was like, c'est ça. Genre, t'es jeune, take your time, you're just starting. Prends ton temps, genre laisse pas les médias sociaux te pressure, etc. Puis c'est vraiment ça qui m'a aidé à comme me concentrer plus sur ma recherche et puis mon intention dans mon travail, and where actually I want to go as an artist. Puis j'aimerais savoir, vous de votre côté, comment est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui vous est déjà arrivé, justement, cette pression de faire plus, and how, like, comment est-ce que vous avez surmonté ça du coup?
Good question. I just want to add one little thing before. I think in regards to fashion, but African fashion specifically, we talk a lot about the role of the designer, but there's so many other supporting roles like photographers, researchers, stylists, makeup artists, models that also have I think something to say. So I think that the more we reach out to each other, the more that we'll be able to have those conversations and collaborations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But in regards to doing more, I think that once you find your passion, because it's not every day that you wake up and you realize what your passion is. It's really through countless efforts, trial and error, that you realize, okay, this is my passion, this is what I want to dedicate myself to, that you feel this pressure to have to perform, to produce, especially when it comes to fashion, when the trend cycle is so quick, and there is a sort of collective consciousness that happens around these trend cycles, like we influence each other, so you feel that your ideas are just out on social media at a faster rate that you can catch up with. But I think that always going back to your intention, as you said, your mission, when it comes to FAD, thinking about the artisans and safeguarding their intangible cultural heritage, I think is what allows me at least to look to the future with thinking more, with more intention, and thinking about what the bigger picture is. I think that when it comes to industrializing these traditional sectors, we have a potential of transforming African goods within the continent and exporting them globally, which is something that we don't see a lot within our import-export models. Very little, do we see that? So I think that really taking a pause and realizing that we're not all meant to be the same. We're all different and we all have something to contribute to, allows me to manage that pressure and that anxiety of, oh, well, there's not enough time, even if, time is flying by, but we still have time to achieve this, and especially together.
That's a good point. For me, it's still something I'm learning to do. So I was like listening.
I'm still learning too, but I'm just, soft reminder.
It's challenging, like you said, especially if you are in the media world and like social media, things go fast. And sometimes, like, for example, a certain conversation is happening by the time, if you take too much time to do your research on it, if, for example, I want to release an article on that, c'est passé. But now I'm learning that, okay, a conversation could be had at different times. You don't have to have that conversation when a certain group of people are having that conversation. Do your research. It's interesting that it sparked interest. So I'm learning to do that with the content we produce. Is okay, I was inspired by this. I know it's going to take me a few months to do something, but at least it will be something of quality. Et ça va pas juste être quelque chose qui est régurgité. J'ai pris quelque chose de Google, écrit un petit article rapidement juste pour faire partie de la conversation. Unfortunately, that's what creates buzz, get likes from that because it's happening at the moment. But on the long term, for me, it's really the question is, am I providing content of quality?
And value.
So that's, value. So that's what helping me slow down. And I'm still learning.
Yeah, it's a learning curve.
Vraiment. And by slowing down aussi, ça te permet de faire un travail qui est plus intentionnel, qui a plus d'impact parce que even if you're not releasing it when it's like so trendy or like people are talking about it, it's still authentic because it's your work, it's your research, it's you, genre c'est ce que toi t'as apporté sur le sujet, donc ça reste vraiment quelque chose qui, à mon avis, impacte même plus dans un sens parce que ça va vraiment résonner avec les personnes qui résonnent avec ton travail et puis ton art. So yeah, moi ma dernière question, it's a pretty, like, it's an okay question. It's like, it's not too deep. Moi, je suis vraiment curieuse de savoir, I know it's going to be hard to choose, but what is your favorite piece or favorite part of the Africa Fashion Exhibition?
Wow.
I know mine.
You know yours?
I think I know yours.
Okay.
Wait, you go ahead. Tell me.
Go ahead.
Here.
Yeah, I knew it.
Photography hallway.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. Like seeing photographies from Seydou Keita and other photographers. Like it's really inspiring. I'm from Mali. So when I came in, that's the first thing I saw. So I think having that, because photographers are a big part of documenting fashion. So they've always been there. From the start with here we don't have Malik Sidibé, but even Malik Sidibé that will go to parties and take photographs of people, you can really see how people dressed at the time, and it's like it's within context, you know. So it's nice to have this little hallway and pathway that leads to this grand room. So for me it was that very easy.
Yeah. I really like that part. I really like this room that we're sitting in as well because it's so beautiful. It represents, I think, just the diversity, of our culture. But my favorite part of the exhibition has to be the pioneers, where we see Al-Fadi, Chris Seydou, Seyd Thomas Baham, all of these pioneers, because I think that their work really was at a crucial time. It was around the independence era. So they had the vision in regards to how to emancipate African culture in a way that allowed itself to return to the roots of our traditions, and to valorize our textiles, to return to wearing our traditional textiles. And I think that that's really what we're returning to now. So I think we should really look to them and the words and the lessons that they have to really redefine the future of African fashion.
Agreed.
Juste, j'ai un point à rajouter. Pour moi, c'est aussi avoir cette exposition en ce moment. C'est un peu, on dit toujours l'histoire se répète, n'est-ce pas? Parce que quand il y a eu ces pionniers, Chris Seydou, Al-Fadi, il y avait aussi des mouvements d'indépendance en Afrique, avec Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, et la mode a vraiment aidé à soutenir ces mouvements politiques. Et aujourd'hui, les mêmes mouvements se passent en ce moment en Afrique de l'Ouest, avec le Niger, le Mali et le Burkina Faso, et aussi dans d'autres endroits en Afrique. Donc, avoir cette conversation en ce moment, pour moi, c'est comme un reflet de l'histoire, au fait. Donc, aujourd'hui, on a encore des conversations au Burkina avec leur nouveau président, Ibrahim Traoré, de remettre le Faso d'infini comme habit officiel, comme uniforme officiel.
Which is the policy of Thomas Sankara.
Que Thomas Sankara avait, ou qu'on voit dans cette exposition que Kwame Nkrumah avait. Donc c'est comme un beau miroir.
C'est ça.
Ouais.
Oh, I agree. Puis ça rejoint vraiment beaucoup, j'ai l'impression, la recherche que justement Dr. Shikenska a fait quand il s'agit de The Politics of Cloth, qui est dans la première partie de l'exposition. Je pense que ça se rejoint vraiment beaucoup. Puis je relate vraiment beaucoup avec cette partie de l'exposition aussi, le hallway bleu, parce que genre, comme tu as dit, on fait pas souvent le lien entre la documentation puis les photographes, justement, parce que c'est eux qui te permettent d'avoir ces visuels-là. Puis j'ai l'impression que ça démontre vraiment bien certaines des trends qu'il y a eu, certains mouvements d'indépendance et de résistance qu'il y a eu de la part des jeunes artistes et des jeunes créatifs africains à l'époque. Puis j'aime beaucoup l'utilisation du bleu aussi, parce qu'elle avait mentionné que justement l'utilisation du bleu indigo était fait exprès dans cette pièce-là because of its connotation with healing and spirituality within a lot of West African cultures. Donc c'est vraiment intéressant. Ben, moi je suis super contente de vous avoir eu aujourd'hui pour cette conversation. C'était un plaisir, c'était super enrichissant. Puis j'ai vraiment hâte de voir votre fashion dossier et tous les projets qui s'en viennent du coup de votre collaboration. Do you have anything you would like to add before we end this conversation?
Je te remercie aussi d'avoir venu ici. C'est une bonne opportunité d'avoir ces conversations-là. C'est comme ça qu'on apprend. On crée aussi des liens pour de futures collaborations. Donc, je te remercie pour avoir pris cette initiative-là.
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is, support African fashion, support African designers, support African creatives. And yeah, I'm so excited for what's to come next for you as well. And carrying forward the legacy is a part of the process, whether it be through styling, design, research. So I'm really excited to see what's gonna unfold from this beautiful, beautiful moment that we're sitting in.
Thank you.